Hey, welcome to the SLTP, otherwise known as the Secret Lorcana Testing Podcast. R2 here. Unfortunately, we don't have Shadox with us this week, but we've got a whole group of awesome people. We've got JDC Quest, JMBN, Dave, and Ed. How's it going, guys?
It's good.
Pretty good.
Happy to be here.
What an interesting crew we have today.
JDC, you just finished a stream?
I did. And we just jumped right into this. I thought it was some kind of warm up. And like, is that how we give it up here? Okay.
No gas, no breaks in this.
It's a straight in, and I love the tenacity. I'm here for it. Okay, I'm happy to be here. Yes, I did just finish a little stream. Had a little 1K on Twitch. You know, it was a little celebratory stream. It was very nice. Had a good time with it. Thanks for inviting me. I've always wanted to be here. 1K on Twitch. Oh yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Wow.
Small. It's a small little thing. It's a modest achievement, I would say.
It's pretty big, Brad.
Yeah. I do appreciate it. You know, I'm trying to get there. It's a work in progress. You know, someday we'll be big, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it won't happen. Who knows? But I'm happy to be here though on the SLTC. I see it all the time. I love this show. I watch all the videos. I'm the number one fan of the program, and the fact that you invited me to come here was a huge honor. Thank you for allowing me to be here for this.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. I don't think we have much in the way of news, unless any of you guys have something you want to address before we get into some topics.
There was a hot button issue. I'm just jumping in.
Yeah.
What happened down in CCS? I know there's been some activity around the community, a lot of negativity. I don't know if the vibe is going to be negative. I don't really like to delve too much in negativity myself. I'm a very positive energy vibes kind of guy. But I would like to hear some of your guys' thoughts on the events that happened. I did tune into Zan Syed's podcast as well. He kind of addressed it from his angle. I listened to some of the things that people have been saying in the comment section and various discords all over the community. And a lot of it is very, very negative. So I would like to hear what you guys think about it, and we can maybe discuss that in a positive manner, if that's possible.
For those of us that don't know what happened, could you briefly summarize it?
I can. Okay. So at least from my perspective, because again, I was not there. But listening to the podcast and listening to the reports that I've been hearing from those various discords that I did mention, there was an event that happened down in Atlanta in CCS. It's a very prominent third-party tournament that has fulfilled the obligation of the lack of DLC that we have had in the previous month. CCS, it was a 13K tournament, I believe. A lot of stakes on the line. Zan Syed, notable star player in this Lorcana. Everyone should know who that is at this point here in the podcast. A very popular player. He's playing in this tournament. He was on a feature match on a stream. During this event, there was a turn that happened. It was an Amber Steel player. Zan Syed was playing Sapphire Steel. The Amber Steel player, I believe his name was Hector. Again, I'm not saying anything negative about anyone. There was a turn where Hector played the action song Whole New World. Whole New World, discard your hand, draw until you have 7 cards. He then goes on to play 3 cards, and then he ends his turn with 5 cards in hand. One of those cards was Bare Necessities. At the time, he was able to get some information from Zan's hand. Pass the turn. Zan says, hey, let me see your hand. How many cards do you have in your hand? Well, you played 3 cards. You still have 5. You drew too many cards. Call the judge. The judge came over. They have a long back and forth debate. And the judge then says, hey, we're going to try our best to salvage this game state, and we're going to try to repair it and try to restart from where we are. And Zan appeals, and it goes to this whole thing. And they ended up maintaining the game as it was. And then Zan ended up losing, and it became this whole kerfuffle because of what happened after. So it's just been a tumultuous thing because Zan kind of reacted negatively, as you probably would if you feel as if you were cheated in some form or fashion. And a lot of negative blowback came on Hector because a lot of people were saying cheating or maybe he should have done better. And this is the whole thing that kind of came from this situation. So it's an ugly moment, but there's a lot of things to unpack and talk about. I just want to kind of pick your brain. You guys are all incredibly prominent players who have a lot of tournament experiences. So in a positive manner, not really nailing the judges or nailing any of the players. I just want to hear your thoughts on what you think should have happened. We'll start with you, Ed, if you can talk about it, because you're a great player. You played a lot of tournaments. What do you think went wrong there, and what do you think we could have done to make it a little bit more positive outcome-wise?
I mean, accidents do happen, right? And I think one of the things was like, well, he was flicking through his cards, and he should have known that he had drawn an additional card. But if I were to do that personally, even if I'm flicking through the cards, I wouldn't even know how many cards I have in my hand. Honestly, I'm not like counting. I'm just kind of fidgeting for fun. You know what I mean? So, I mean, accidents do happen, and I think, to be honest, like, calling him a cheater for that is, I think, a little bit outrageous, especially, like, having the audacity to try to do that on camera. I know there's people that try to cheat on camera, but, I mean, it's hard to kind of prove intent, right? And if you go the route of, like, oh, guilty until proven innocent, then you're gonna start, like, a witch hunt against somebody, and I don't think that's probably the approach that you should take, especially given the platform that you have. So, I mean, yeah, I know in other games, like, if you draw an additional card, it's usually just like a game loss because it's like, quote unquote, your like repairable game state.
Right.
I think right now in Lorcana, it's still like kind of lax in a way where it's just like, oh, maybe you just put one card back and just keep the game going. You get a warning.
Mhm.
So there's pros and cons of, both, right? It's like some people are like, oh, I'm just going to try to get 2 warnings every tournament and I'm never going to get disqualified.
Right.
And then, at the same time, there's, people make mistakes, right? Everybody makes mistakes at some point. And it's like, how punishing should that be? So
Right.
I think there's definitely a fine line between, what the punishment should be. But I think like kind of starting a witch hunt is probably not the way to go.
I agree.
So I think this is the second biggest cheating scandal over the weekend in card games that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was in the Magic the Gathering event where somebody was palming cards on their lap.
Oh no.
Also caught on camera, and so I perhaps got my controversies a little mixed up because I know of both of them. So it sounds to me like perhaps the bigger issue with this is Lorcana's leniency when it comes to mistakes like this.
Right.
Is that a correct read on the situation, and not so much the drama between players?
I think there's multiple facets that cause this to be weird. And it kind of dates back to some of the other cheating or mistakes that have happened in past events where I think players should be more willing to call judges when they make a mistake. And we've seen that, like Clara at Continentals, once she realized that she was playing with, what was it, a different deck than what she registered, or different cards?
A different shit. Either she had a card that was in her deck or the wrong quantity of a particular card, but she caught it herself in self-reporting.
Yeah, self-reporting. So self-reporting like shows that you didn't have malice, hopefully.
Right.
And then there's the idea of like the witch hunting afterwards. I know people are dredging back up and, oh, look at Zan had this. Zan wasn't great back in the day, and it's just like, oh, come on, like.
Oh, we're going down that road. Huh?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It just.
Yeah, and it turns into this big circle of negativity, and I honestly didn't really care too much for all of that, and I really didn't like the fact that they do come after the judges, because at the same time these judges are not getting paid that much. There's a lot of volunteership that comes in with the judge program. We are kind of lacking a judge program. That's something we've talked about ad nauseum, so I don't want to really harp on that too much. But as it stands, the rules on the paper are written in a certain way that allows these certain things to happen. My concern as a player is that someone, and Ed kind of touched on it a little bit, is that there will be these nefarious ne'er-do-wells who enter into these tournaments knowing this information. They're going to be armed with it, and they're going to be prepared to do unscrupulous behaviors in order to gain a competitive advantage, especially when these large sums of cash prizes are on the table. So I would personally love to see the rules be in black and white. Hey, if you mess up, not saying you're a cheater, and that's one other thing that I would like to ask the SLTC. We could get to the world out there. Let's stop throwing these terms around, cheater and cheating and integrity violating type things, because a lot of times people aren't cheating, they're just making a mistake. But still, just because you made a mistake, you might have to pay the consequences for a mistake. That's part of playing the game. You break the rules, you have to get some type of punishment there, I think. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts on this. So I'm going to take the long way around to get to the finish line and go on a few side tangents. But the first, I think, is Lorcana's rules are very lenient and kind of allow this type of behavior. My first experience with this was DLC Vegas. This was the first DLC with set 5 legal, and the card in question that always caused controversy was Pete Games Referee. The one I play at Pete. You can't play actions next turn. There was basically no penalty for trying to play through Pete, and it more or less at that event became the circumstance of like, you might as well try it, because even I played Pete against my opponents. They would try and play an action. I would call a judge, and the judge would just say, "Don't do that."
Right.
No actions, no warnings, no anything else. And so I wonder how many times my opponent in this event had previously tried to play through Pete and got away with it, because there was no record or indication that this kind of thing kind of happened. And so in that regard, I think a lot of other games for drawing extra cards, the penalty, if you catch it immediately, right? So like, I draw 2 cards. I have 2 cards that stuck together on the top of my deck. I pick them both up, and it's clear which the 2 cards are. You can separate them. You can shuffle. You can put one back. I don't know that that's necessarily a game loss, but drawing 8 and playing through a turn, in most games that I've played in my history, that would result in a game loss.
Yeah, I would have preferred to have seen that player before they even take their first action go, oh crap, I have 8. Now that I'm looking at what I want to do for my turn. Like, but
I think for me, it's like kind of a little hard to believe that you played a whole new world and you drew 8 cards and you didn't know it was 8, because you're drawing an entire new hand. Like, you're looking at every single card that you just drew. Like how do you not know that you had 8 cards? And maybe it was, like, I don't think he did it on purpose, but it could have been like he realized it. And like sometimes it's hard to like be like, okay, I'm gonna call judge on myself, versus like, maybe I can kind of just play it through and it will be fine, even though the mistake was there. Not that he did it intentionally. That's what I'm thinking. But in this situation, he probably should have known. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, as more of a casual competitive player, like, we watch all of you guys play, like on stream, on Twitch, whatever. And you guys set an example for the community, like, and I think when you're like playing at that level and you're being streamed, like, you have to be extra careful when you're like doing any of your moves, whether it's your inking, it's your drawing cards, making sure you're doing them in the correct order, because you're representing the Lorcana community and people are learning from you guys, right? So I think like all of these like accidents that I feel like has been happening, like, it really shouldn't be happening. Like, everyone should just like slow down just like half a second. And I think a lot of these mistakes could be prevented.
Yeah, JDC, I know you're big on the tips and tricks for new players. I know you have kind of a series going like that on your YouTube channel. One advice I would give to every person at the start of the game and every time like a whole new world or a similar spell is to lay out your cards first 4 and then 3, or then 3 and then 4, or 5 and 2, or however you want to do it. Make a smiley face with it, but face down so that you count 7 cards. Because once you look at them, it's a much different story. Right. Okay. So when I start every game, I draw, I pick up my deck and I put 4 down, and then I put 3 down and show them, my opponent can see them. My opponent in most cases does it back. We both know we have 7 cards. No problem. Every time a whole new world casts, I do the same thing. It's 4 and then 3. I've been doing it for, 20 years playing card games. So I wonder if something like that could have prevented this whole situation from happening. Certainly, you're not expecting your opponent to accidentally or intentionally draw an extra card. But it's just a simple tip and trick that you and your opponent can do to make sure that kind of thing, doesn't come up in the future.
I like that. I think I'm working on another video, and that will definitely go in there, because I think that's critically important, and it could just save you we got Wonder Cat in here. That is just oh my god, this is not what I needed. We're having a serious conversation, and this thing just jumped. I had a terrible nightmare about this freaking cat, dude. Oh my god, not this. No, I lost my whole train of thought, dude. Oh man.
Sorry. No, but I mean that's you're right, and Dave, and it is kind of like when you're on when you're on a stream, right, you're kind of an ambassador, right, of the game, and you should play hopefully at a competent and competitive level. I know that there are some instances where you don't get a choice. I think it was Chicago. I think they asked George to be on stream and he said no, or be a featured match and he had said no and they said too bad. I might be getting that wrong. Dave, you might know, might be able to recall that better.
I don't know the event, but I know that definitely happened.
Yeah. So I think, people should be able to opt out of feature matches. I know that maybe some people might play with added pressure. I haven't been on a feature match before, but I was on the ICL opening exhibition thing, and I played against Sailor. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, okay, I need to make sure like I'm playing as well as I could. And I mean, to this day, I can play that game back in my head because it was so ingrained in the mistakes I made, and like mistakes, like gameplay mistakes, not like I didn't cheat or bend the rules or miss something, but it was just, just the gravity of the game of just being broadcast in front of people.
And that's something I think that we do take for, because again, around the community there's a lot of negativity. A lot of people are pro Zan or anti Zan or pro Hector or anti Hector, and they're like, you're a cheater, and it's making it this whole negative thing where they're not taking that into account. You're playing under the bright lights. You're playing against a player that a lot of people tout as the best player in the game. You got a long tournament. It's very late in the tournament. You're going rounds. Who knows how much you're drinking? Who knows how much you're eating? Fatigue is setting in, and it could be a factor in the game. And a lot of people think that, I'm watching from the comfort of my home. I can easily see the misplays you're making. I can see the mistakes you're making, but you're not in that arena to make those types of calls. So I'm not saying that Hector is cheating or he did cheat. However, I do say that there was an unfair advantage that was generated, and someone should have to pay the cost associated with that. And I'm not blaming the judges because they executed the rules as they were written. I'm not blaming Zan because he's a human being. He has feelings. He deserves to feel slighted. And I'm not blaming Hector because he's a human being. He does have mistakes. But I truly feel that there should have been a game loss there. And I will go even further to say that Hector should have raised his hand and should have said, hey, judge, I messed up. I'm gonna eat it. I bought farm. I'm gonna go plant the seed, and I got to go deal with it myself because this is my mistake, my bad. I got caught up. These things happen. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I haven't slept. I didn't sleep very well. Whatever your excuse may be, and you just consume that loss and you just move on. I think that would have been a good outcome, in my opinion. But the fact that you let that whole thing continue to go on and just makes this thing spiral out of control, I think that's something I would like to have seen. Personally.
Well, I definitely think it's not just a black and white thing. Like, I can't do it with Ed's face. I just like, I couldn't.
That's a good one.
But it's definitely not a black and white situation. Like, I don't think if someone makes a small mistake, I mean, I say small, but you drawing an extra card, it happens. Like, I've myself did it without realizing it. Like, and that, I'll tell you, it's a weird feel to start a stream and someone is just like, are you going to talk about how you drew an extra card in the top 8? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean I drew an extra card? Like, all right, let's watch the tape, I guess. Like, and I guess I'm an idiot. And I played a sudden chill with a Prince John in play right after I played a hypnotize. And I guess I thought I played another hypnotize and I drew 2. I mean, I'm apparently a dirty cheater, but I would have been so upset had I gotten a game loss for that. Like, granted, in that scenario, I was like 99% to win, but you can't really look at that, right? Like, I mean, you can a little bit for intent, but like drawing one extra card, if accidentally, is not game loss worthy for the first offense. In my mind.
But it's
there
like
is some amount of intent required, in my opinion.
But
I also think the rule should be like drawing an extra card is the highest infraction you can get, and it's not like a 1, 2, 3, 3 strikes you're out kind of thing. Like, it's a 1, 2 strike you're out.
Right? Yeah, it should be like that escalates you up to like, all right, next time you step out line, it's.
Here's a question. So I'm assuming you're referring to in a single event. Do you think it should be something like 3 strikes over 2 events it's like a thing, like they should keep track maybe to prevent.
I'm
like,
not
oh,
aware
my
of that.
event's on.
I'm of any card game doing it that way. Each event's kind of different. Like warnings don't carry over.
They even track these things, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's like per event.
Gotta put it in melee, dude. Attach to your melee.
I mean, we're
Put a warning.
some of us are tracking it because we like spreadsheets, and there may be a spreadsheet of,
Do you play
things,
EVE
but-
Online? Spreadsheets in space.
But yeah, it would be hard to like at what level, like, are they not allowed to go to their local 1K? Are they, if you mess up at your local league, or if you mess up at CCS, does that mean you can't, like, does the warning carry over to the DLC, or like it's a can of worms?
I think
ultimately I think we all can agree we want a judge program. We want better support for the judges. We want rules in one spot, not some in an email, some in a Discord server, some in the rule book. We want it all just to be improved, and hopefully they're working on that.
I think it's fair. I do think it's fair, but like I said, I don't think it should be like a one size fits all. I mean, there still should be investigations, and there should be a story to tell of what happened. And like you said, you draw 8, oh, it's an accident. You can put one back really quick, or you save it there. But if your opponent catches you, it ups the onus, and I think there should be more chances there. Or self-reporting, I think, could also help lower the punishment that might be associated with some type of thing. But when you don't report yourself and the whole turn goes through, I think too much time has passed and the game is now broken, and someone has to pay for that. I think so. That's
moral of the story is always call the judge, and you have the right to escalate.
Absolutely.
It's not your job to solve
If
the
I
problem.
had hands,
Let
I'd
the
be
judges
pointing
do it.
at him right now in agreement.
And also keep the positivity up. Okay, keep the peace. No more hate. Let's keep Lorcana as positive as we can. And we know as this game continues to grow and these prizes continue to become more fabulous and these tournaments become more sought after, people are going to start to play, and they're not going to have the best intentions. So hopefully we maintain this nice energy that Lorcana's had. When I joined, it seemed very positive and peaceful, man. And hopefully that energy is maintained and not like this turn into this angle shooting, pool sharky kind of thing. And it's just going to be a mess, dude. I don't want to be a part of that. That's fine. Again,
Can I segue to a different CCS topic of self-inflicted wounds?
Sure.
Are you guys aware of the ink token things that happened?
No, I don't. I think I don't think I know that one.
No, don't throw shade on the poor people using ink.
Oh no, I have.
Oh, you mean the guy who had like the
Sasuke?
tokens that were like this
No,
big?
no.
Not that. Okay.
On 2 separate occasions, 2 different matches,
I've done
players.
this.
So for those who don't know,
I do know this. I do know this.
You put your card into your inkwell, and then you replace it with like a Pokemon card or anything that's not a Lorcana card. And the reason you might do this is that you think like it prevents you from putting your hand down in your inkwell and getting things confused like that, because your inkwell is now a different set of tokens. But on 2 separate occasions in 2 different matches, players inked a card, put their card over in the pile with all their other cards that they inked, and did not take an ink token and put it in their inkwell.
How long did it take before they noticed?
They never did. And in one particular
no.
one particular example of a player, they inked their 7th card, but didn't put a token into their inkwell, so they only had 6. The last card in their hand was Tamatoa 8. The next turn, they draw an inkable and put that in their inkwell, which should have been their 8th ink, but they had missed their ink token, and they didn't play Tamatoa and ended up losing the game.
I do remember seeing that, and I know that the discourse we had on SLTC was, doing all this extra work to maybe make it cleaner might not be the right line.
Don't do that. Just use your
Take
inkwell
away.
as
No.
intended.
I feel like
Just
there's
give the ink
so many
tokens.
better ways to be like, okay, I keep my hand over here and I keep my ink over here. I don't think I've ever mixed up my ink in my hand.
That's why TMP plays his ink in the front.
Oh no, I'm not okay with that though.
That's against the rules in Magic.
I think the rules
You're not
do
allowed to
prohibit that.
Oh really?
Wait, Lorcana? Wait, in Lorcana?
Not
Yeah.
Lorcana. In Magic, not Lorcana.
I think it's I think it's characters and
I mean, I
front.
believe anything if you said this was a rule in Lorcana.
Yeah.
So,
But anyway,
I mean, I'd love to
my
have.
moral of the story is like the ink tokens thing are just a ton of additional effort, both in like acquiring ink tokens and in the logistics of using them. And you might accidentally strip mine yourself and blow up your own ink in the process. So don't
Dave,
do that.
Yeah,
Dave,
what
I would
thought you were gonna talk
love
about
to.
was the guy. I don't remember what player it was, but they
The
had
itty-bitty
tokens
ones?
that were like, I don't know
Microscopic,
how big
like poker chips or something.
they were. Not
Yeah.
even. I mean, they were like, they were so
It's
small,
right
and
out
I was
the
like,
purple,
I was worried that it was a red purple player in what round 5? Was
like
that?
locations guy.
Yeah, I'm just worried that if they're that small
Ezekiel.
and I tip them and I can't, like, cards are pretty good size. You know when they're
he
turned
played
or
with
not.
them once or twice, and I'd be like, "There's no way I wouldn't be using those like poker chips at a poker table. I
Right.
would just constantly be fiddling those things.
Hey, we know
They
somebody
look
that does
like
that.
it
We have
looks
someone
like
in
little
SLTC that
tiles."
does that.
I don't know. I would
Oh,
love
really?
I would love to have a debate between Luke and Ed. Okay, 2 DLC champions. Well, I know Luke is super pro ink tokens. He's big time ink tokens. I know Ed has got to be anti ink tokens. Okay, I would love to hear the pros and the cons of each and why these things are of value. I personally am anti ink
Well-
token. I think it's just more things to just think about and mess up, and why
Do you
waste the
know
brain power.
how the power move it is when I play Ed and I get to put the ink token he signed in play in front of him and be like, "Thanks, you signed this. I'm gonna beat you with it." I don't know.
Okay.
It's fun. Like it's a way to like kind of. So you always hear social players and other people being like, "This is this for this," and like I'm designing my deck in this way. It's a way to kind of like personalize your deck in a way that doesn't sacrifice, as long as you put your ink there, like playability in your deck, and like it's a way you can express yourself. This is what social players have been saying for years. I never understood it. I finally understand a little bit. You can ask Bobby McHugh in Atlanta. We were thinking about it. I had some like cool fake like dual lands I was going to use. Be like, yeah, I'm using a $700 like card here as a thing, but obviously it wasn't. And I tried doing it, and it was just like, oh, I can't do this. This is like so much effort. And Bobby was like, yeah, I can't even remember why I swapped. I think it's because we got the Labyrinth ones, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have people sign. I'll use it. I forced myself to use it in one set champs, and after that, I was hooked. I liked it. I enjoy it. All right. So I'm a riffle shuffler at heart, but I don't do it because I like money. So it gives me something to riffle shuffle. I can like beat the crap out of these things and not feel bad for damaging my cards.
Okay, that's a good hardy defense. Okay, aesthetics, riffle shuffling, and extra technique, something to fidget with. Ed, why are we using these things? Why should we get rid of them?
The thought of me having to use those for like 18 rounds in a day is like very mentally taxing. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, I'm not even gonna play with a playmat, man. Carrying around a playmat is too much mental tax.
Okay. I mean, if
Are
he's
you
not using the
calling me
play
out
mat,
right
I'm
now?
not going to change his mind.
I'm gonna have my little fanny pack, and that's it. That's all I'm bringing, and I'm not using.
So-
nothing
Can we
else.
sponsor the game Genic Bastion 50? That's all you need right
That's
here.
what I'm saying. Not sponsored. No ad. Not an ad.
So
And the new
I will note that-
Lululemon fanny packs that Disney has now too.
Yeah.
So we have a similar playmat. Although I didn't realize ours were different colors. Mine is brown. Yours is like gray with some red on it,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
not
cool.
an ad, by the way. Oh yeah, Joshua Poultry also just messaged me, like, thanking me for using it on the
Nice.
stream. But yeah, he made us some like play mats, and it's like a brother from another mother mat. So yeah, shout out to him.
And so is one of the reasons you were like, oh, I don't want to carry this stuff. Are you a small bagger? Like I use a small bag. It's like a big fanny pack that goes over my shoulder. It can't really hold a normal playmat very well. But the one I got from Josh is great.
Yeah, I mean, historically, like, of course, everyone brings a backpack, right? That's like the thing. But then I'm starting to see, like, the Dales of the world. He just got his like little bag, super
Yeah.
small, and it
I
looked
like that.
right. And just like a notepad, a pen, and his deck, and that's it. That's all he's bringing.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Like so minimalistic. You don't need to think about nothing. But
I mean, but you try to match Dale, you're gonna get cooked because he's like fashionista. He's got the pearls on. He's got the super $300 T-shirt on. He's got the sneakers and you can't keep up with that, man. So I wouldn't try
Don't
to
forget his watch. He always wears a nice watch.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, he's got the drip. He's got the whole thing. No mat. Deck's $6,000 on the dusty table. You hate to see it. You hate to see it, man. You gotta
I think mat-wise, you can probably bring like also like a minimal mat as well, right? Like some companies make like those single-player cloth mats.
Mm-hmm.
That's like what I want to do eventually, right, Josie?
Yeah. It's coming soon.
Coming soon. Team Tianhu single-player cloth mats.
Oh, can't wait.
Are you making two-player ones too? Some of us like to fold them in half.
Dude, I think I have a gripe with that, honestly. Like, back in the day, I had like a Spellground single player, and then I was like, this makes so much sense. It's just for me, right? Like, nobody wants to share their mat anyways. So I was like, why are we making two-player mats? Literally nobody is using it for that purpose.
So
it's like,
is that why these mats are
That's not
folded?
true.
Were they designed as two-player?
They're designed to play mats.
Okay, yeah, this is not something I knew of.
Literally everybody folds it over like in a certain way, so everyone's like their own mat anyways, right?
It's honestly that's the aesthetic, man. That Yu-Gi-Oh aesthetic. You got to have a cloth mat. It's got to be a two-player mat. It's got to be folded. You got to have your TI-80 graphic calculator case with your cards in it, and you have the white sleeves. It's just aesthetics, man. You got to have it. You got to.
I like the ability to be like, oh man, I'm playing with my buddy. We get to have like the special game. Let's bust out the two-player playmat. Let's go.
Yeah.
I will say I do appreciate Ed's two-player playmat because sometimes I forget to bring a playmat all the time. So I'm like, Ed, can you just share yours with me?
Just share, jeez, bro.
Yeah. But like,
I got a question for Luke. You're a long time. You played Magic, right? You're an old school PTQer probably, like I was.
Yeah.
Who's the scariest player you can run into in top 8, gear wise?
Here?
Gear, like with the equipment they bring with them.
Aesthetically.
Oh, I know. I don't know. Like
I tell you who it is, right? So they got a backwards hat, pen in the hat. Their only deck box is the cardboard Dragon Shield box.
Penny sleeves.
And
no playmat.
And when they sit down, they have no mat, and they pull out like a Burger King receipt to write on to keep keep track of life. That guy's gonna cook you for sure.
You're either gonna get a buy or you don't stand a chance.
No, and you know what? And that guy, as soon as he beats you, he's gonna, and he wins the whole thing. He's gonna be like, "All right, whose deck did I borrow?"
Yeah,
and then you never see him again. Yeah. He hands it back to his buddies, and he's gone. Just good luck at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, the grinders, man. They're dangerous. There's a few types, and like once you see that one, like they're scary because they're just naturally good at the game, but they're good at some other part of life better. They're like, oh well, I would play more Magic, but I have a real life job, so I just do that.
The guy that's willing to drive 4 hours and not bring a thing and just hope the 75 cards you need for Magic, just show up in a deck box. That's not somebody you want to play against.
It also means they have friends, right? So they have people to play with. They're testing, and most the best people to play against are people better than you. It's just gonna make you better.
I can't wait till Lorcana gets to that point where we have Lorcana aesthetics of what.
So we had one of those guys during the Stitch set champs, the Into the Inkland set champs. He shows up. He's a Magic guy, but knows there's a Lorcana card worth $400 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm here for the money.
Makes top 4, drops and goes home, and they're like, "What about the playmat?" And he's like, "What am I going to do with that? I don't want that." I got my card and I'm out. I don't want
those playmats are actually worth a bit. Actually,
until you tell him the price tag, then he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll stay."
Oh, he's like, "You think I care about playmats? I got 30 playmats in the backseat or in the trunk of my car. I don't need another one to add to that pile."
Playmats are actually not worth much in other games, I would say. I mean,
not
now
at all.
People started to value them a little bit more. Like some of these Pokemon ones are insane, right? But I think in general, people are the cards are very hard to duplicate, but the mats are potentially duplicatable. You can use whatever.
Oh yeah, we have my local scene is getting flooded with custom mats that they're doing, and they're even putting I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the stitching on the edge, which the Lorcana playmats don't have. So they're kind of upgrading them a little bit. So
Some people
it's
hate
nice.
that.
It's horrible. I think it's because like they always get caught on the stitching. That's why I
Yeah.
like my mats unstitched.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
unstitched
really? Because
guy,
I find they're kind of fraying a little bit.
Oh, if
From
it
being
frays, it
unstitched.
frays, man.
Oh,
I'd rather
that's
have
fair.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
mind that at all.
it
And
dings
when you
up
go,
my
when you go to slide your
Okay.
card off and you get caught on the
I like a
stitching,
little
that's like
patina.
terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so like if it frays, it plays like they kind of. So in Dave, you played Magic for a long time. Do you get like a nostalgic feeling when you see a card that has like riffle shuffle marks on it? It's not like bent,
Oh
but
yeah.
you can tell it's been
No,
shuffled.
it's funny you say
and-
that. I try to purchase LP and heavily played cards now instead of near mint. Not only because they're cheaper, but like I feel like they all have a story.
I was gonna
A
ask
little-
you, is like for financial purposes or for the nostalgia?
Why
A
not?
little
both?
bit of both,
Yeah.
you know. Like for sure, it's like they're cheaper and stuff like that. I mean, I'm past the point of looking for max rarity, enchanted, all that kind of stuff. At
Yeah.
this point,
Which Tamatoas, man? Like, what's going on with that?
oh yeah, my Tamatoas are gone. I mailed them to Boomy.
Oh, the enchanted ones, enchanted.
You sold
Oh, yeah,
them? You got
Mario
rid of them?
had those.
You're done with Blue Steel?
He
Is
used
that
them in
your?
one event. He signed them. He sent them away.
Well, I presume at some point they'll come back to me, but
Ah,
the
just
a-
Scrooges, we help each other out. We don't.
Why
got
are
it.
you
Got
calling
it.
out Boomy? Now all his opponents will know what he's playing.
Oh.
Wait,
he
hold
doesn't,
up, hold
he
up.
doesn't know what he's playing. He's gonna find
Well-
out on the write up.
All right, I
play
got
Emerald
a funny
Sapphire.
story about these. So Monday I go to the U.S. Postal Service and I'm like, I need to get these cards to Chicago by Friday, and they gave me a whole bunch of options, and one of them was like $40 to overnight them or something like that. And I was like, I'm not doing that. What else can I do? They're like, for $5, they'll probably get there Thursday. They might get there Friday, and they'll definitely be there by Saturday. And I
Oh
was
my.
like, sounds great. I should ship them.
Yeah, ship it. Send it.
So I messaged
Good luck,
Boomy. I was
Boomy.
like, you may or may not have one by the time you need
Oh
it.
no! Wait, so Boomy's on Blue Steel now. What happened to the Steel
He's,
song game?
He's unsure still.
Yeah, he's supposed to be training this week, but he's mostly just falling asleep putting his kids to sleep.
Sick.
And no training is happening.
Training arc.
I mean, dad
Everyone
life, right?
Sapphire now.
Yeah,
True.
no, I get it.
Cool.
Is that a good way to segue into the decks we're playing this week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that sounds like a
Okay.
great idea.
What's everybody playing? I'm curious.
I want you guys to tell me what to play because I am in a crisis mode after watching Red Blue come out of the works in the CCS and just slaughter everybody. And now I don't know what to do.
I
No
think,
one likes. No one
Well, I
likes
can give some
Ruby.
like insight from. I played a ton of Red Blue over the past week, and I think my first iteration of it, I think I got wrong because I thought Shark was like vulnerable, right? But the secret is you divert all the resources or divert your opponent's resources to like Sisu or other characters, and then you play your Shark, and then now there's nothing to hit the Shark. So I think now like the Hector, the guy that won the CCS, he kind of showcased that like you can play them in tandem, and what you would do is like just play like later Sharks and then kind of spam all your actions like after they've kind of used their resources on Sisu, and then win the game that way. So I think probably going forward, I think that's probably the route that Red Blue will take. They're gonna play like the Sisu with Shark package because it still kind of exerts like a threat that your opponent has to deal with. Like in the initial iterations that I played like Scar and B Prep, you didn't really have to use that many resources to deal with like Scar, right? Usually he hits something and now he has like 2 health left, and then you just hit it with literally anything and he dies.
Yeah,
But the
that's
Sisu
fun.
actually like kills everything, still has the 4 willpower, and now you have to exert like, or use some kind of like premium resource to deal with it. So I think
kind of
going for-
like
yeah.
you just take the burn, you take the Sisu on ice, you jam them together, and you say, "I made this," and you win.
I think going forward, the jammed up version, Sisu and Shark will probably be what ends up on top.
What if I
What are you
didn't
cutting?
want to play that though?
What am I cutting? Wait, go ahead.
Yeah,
I was asking,
go
in
with
order
cuts
to
first,
jam
yeah.
everything in, what do you cut to make room?
So I mean,
One of
to merge
everything.
them together, I think you just take like this coil Sisu shell, and then you add like the Shark, obviously Pirate's Life, develop your brain. I think those are like the main 3, right?
How
that
far
are-
will go?
How far? Not decided yet. Probably you'll play how far because it's so good with Shark, right? So you probably
So-
have to.
We're on Tala off of Scrooge then, I assume.
I think it's probably still Tala because she's still the best singer for how far, right? Scrooge, I think never like you can try to play it, but I think you just don't have enough good items. It's not blue steel, right? You don't have Fortis Sphere. Oh yeah, so you pulled up the list. So I mean, if you kind of look at it, I think this is probably where like red blue is headed. Like you have the coil Sisu shell, and then you just added shark to it, and then that's the deck.
I still
think
don't have sharks.
where I want to be though is probably more copies of Sisu and like less copies of Medusa. I think now we're at the point where like this baby Sisu in like tandem with Coil and like the Halfars will probably get you to wherever you need to be that Medusa like needed you to get to, right? Like you can shrink some like really crazy stuff, especially if you save like your Sisu or your Tipo or your Sail in tandem with Halfar. You can even shrink a shark down to like 1. Like I've definitely done that before, where you can just shrink a shark down to like 1, and then you can hit it with a baby Sisu, right? So
What do you think of only 3 coils?
okay, I think 3 coils. Personally, if I were to change this, I would probably like minus the Vitalisphere and add a coil back in. I think coil is like probably the most important card in the deck. Especially, I think I would also like probably go up on the Sisus, but that's not because like I like 4-ofs, but I think it's because those are actually the best cards in the deck. Like that's why the deck is like called Coil Sisu. Like those are the
He's
main.
lying. He wants to play 4 enchanted Sisus. That's why.
Well, that too, yeah. Shout out to Josie. But anyways, so if I could run 5 Sisu, I probably would. To be honest, like 5 small Sisu and 5 big Sisu, and 5 coils, I definitely would. Like the 55, 55.
Judge.
Definitely 5.
Keeping it 50-50.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is probably where it's going. Like Sisu plus Shark, I think in tandem work really well together, and you're attacking on multiple axes, right? I think that's where the decks become very successful if you're able to like do a lot of different things and kind of throw your opponent off.
Very cool.
And this was another version of it from the same event, 3rd overall. So
yeah,
1st and 3rd ran with the half shark. The 2nd place was more of the what we've seen Sailor doing, more of the, I don't know if you say item heavy, but more items.
So
GST.
Yeah.
Do we have the statistics from the full event? Like, so I'm just assuming, based on what the top 8 looked like, that a lot of people chose Amber Steel, like 4-butts, to try to beat up on Sapphire Steel, and Ruby Sapphire basically did what Ruby Amethyst did in EU cons or championships, EU championships, and we're like, dude, hold my coil. Let's just wipe this board with perfect matchups and like take it home. Does that sound about right?
Personally, I think we're in like a little bit of an inbred kind of testing kind of thing. Because I know in SLTC we always talk about like the 4-butt Amber Steel decks. But I don't know if like in actual like real life gameplay, if a lot of people are actually playing like that kind of deck. Like I know.
Do you think
like,
it was maybe Amber Steel, maybe?
I mean, even Amber Steel, yeah, you can see is actually not that popular at all. And I think it's probably like the Kiwi thing that got completely farmed by Red Blue. Like I think Coil Sisu completely farms that deck, and I think also to some degree is also favored into like the items version of the deck. So I mean, looking at this, like I think it makes sense that Red Blue kind of like won and did well. Like how much of the top 8 was like Red Blue? It was like 3 Red Blue and 1 Red Purple.
4,
right? For the top 4, yeah, it was a lot, right? And they end up being in like the top 4 as well. So I think this version specifically with Sisu and Shark is really well positioned into the meta. So
in the mirror, you think too?
In the mirror, I think it comes down to like if there's any unanswered sharks, usually like that person gets to run away with the game, or they're kind of staring at each other. I think it's also important for you to like get down as many coils as possible in the mirror. I think one of the thresholds is like if you get out 2 coils, then you can like take out your opponent's like big Sisu with like any of your Sisus, right? And I think did he run like a hideaway or like Cusco in his?
There's 1 hideaway in one of the
hideaway
lists and 2 in the other.
Yeah, I think hideaway is probably like gonna be kind of important going forward to try to remove your opponent's coils in the mirror to just stop the kind of 2 coil threshold to just get your cards removed. Because I think like we talk about in SLTC a lot, but I think the next new card will probably be Cusco, because I think it synergizes with itself in a way in that if you're able to like remove your opponent's coil, it actually makes it much harder for them to remove your Cusco because now they don't have coil to like shrink it down to remove. And like
Speaking
the
of
willpower on
Cusco,
it is very strong.
are you gonna still go forward, or was that just for a meta call on the LCCC?
Meta call wise, I mean, if red blue becomes very popular and like other kind of location style decks become popular, I don't think it's even that unreasonable to run like 4 Cusco or like 2 Cusco 2 Hideaway. Before I was like, prepping the decks, right? Because you know who your opponents are potentially. So I guess a lot of people don't know this, but it's like you actually don't know who your exact opponent is before you submit your deck list. So it's like you kind of take a look, and
but you know the pool of who you'll face because
I know the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I had like 3 blue steel, an amber steel, something else, and then like 2 red blue, right? So it's like I kind of look at all their like week 2 deck lists, and I saw like every deck basically had like either locations or like a lot of items. So it's like, well, this Cusco is going to make a lot of sense, right? Like usually if you're able to like hit a key card, for example, like in the mirror, if you're able to hit their coils, or like towards the end game, if you're able to hit their dime, then you'll probably win the game. So I thought that card was impactful enough for it's like if you have 4 copies of it, you'll always be able to see it when you need to.
So let me just rephrase then. So reiterate. So you think that the red blue success was more about the environment at CCS, not necessarily that red blue is the best deck right now.
I mean, I personally think red blue is probably still the best deck right now.
Okay.
I think the environment was that Kiwi was like on the upswing, right? Everyone was exploring Sapphire Steel, and nobody was really thinking about, oh, what can I do in red blue to kind of counteract that? And I think once people started like coming up with these like coil Sisu lists, like these lists completely prey on that deck, and like basically all steel decks will like fall prey to this like kind of style of the deck. So I think someone was basically like potentially 1 week ahead of the meta. Yeah. And brought this to CCS and just like completely dominated all the Sapphire Steel deck.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were, I think, like in pre-release, I know that myself and others in SLTC were worried about this, right? We're worried about coil decks just killing everybody. But then I think some of the red blue heads at the time were just like, oh well, if we're doing coil, then we might as well do workshop. And then Zan came out with that Oswald workshop list that just farmed other workshop decks because they just did it stronger, and it was just like, oh, okay, well, red blue's not there, so. And now we're, that's I think the great part about this game, and I know many card games have this, is the meta iterations over weeks of different events, different people seeing stuff. I mean, that first weekend of games where the Oswald decks were out, I mean, Dave and Justin's list wasn't even out there yet, and we all thought that list was better anyways.
So do you think that if red blue becomes the quote unquote best deck in format, that Oswald could come around again because they were playing Oswald because it's good against red blue or ruby sapphire? Man, I've trained so hard not to say red blue, and you have me saying it again so
sorry,
fast.
Yeah, ruby sapphire. I don't think this iteration is susceptible to Oswald. Like the workshop version of just kind of dirtling around and doing stuff. Because they have some the list on screen right now has like Scrooges, so they're going to be going contesting boards, probably going faster. The shark one, I mean, even if you're not gaining lore off sharks, they're evasive. They just go sideways. I don't think the Oswald list would get there.
Yeah, I mean, I played a ton of Lorcana recently somewhere. But I ran into a lot of Oswald lists, and I like Coil Sisu. I think is actually not even unfavored against it. I mean, even if they hit like, what can they really hit in the beginning? Like they could hit some fish bones or some like dimes.
Workshop or fish bones.
Workshop, yeah, they could like but still at the end of the day, it's still a very dirtily deck. And I think you can still like this red blue deck can get out some real like crazy stuff. Like even Sisu being able to quest for 3, if it goes unanswered for a couple turns, you just lose the game, right? And especially these newer iterations with like Cusco being able to like put away their workshops or late game dimes, I think actually tilted the the matchup more into Ruby Sapphire's field.
What do you think about the Maleficents.
Yeah. So I mean, I had them. I basically always had them, and I think it's still a good card in terms of like resource management, right? Usually the problem is like sometimes you don't have anything to do with your ink, and Ruby Sapphire like has tons of ink most of the time, especially if you play like How Far, Great Stone Dragon, all these kind of things. And sometimes you just want to not really do anything except just like play one, banish one, and just turn sideways. And I think that's where like Maleficent Dragon is like its best. But I think the other way you can kind of go is not play it and try to go under, right? Like, DKP wants to like play sharks and like make duck manners and like a bunch of actions and just try to win that way, which is also reasonable. But actually going back to like the workshop thing, I think the reason why workshop will never be good is because there's too many people playing random aggro decks. If you just like run into like one guy playing aggro, you just lose 0-2 basically if you're playing a workshop based deck. So I would never bring like a kind of too control of a strategy to like a major open tournament. I think you're kind of just asking to like get ran over by like all kinds of random like green, yellow, dog, Chernobog decks. Shout out to Diego. But you know what I mean? Like those type of decks will definitely show up at opens, right? And like someone's just gonna like open the triple ones into like
or those red blue those ruby amethyst lists out there that are taking names now.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like they're just playing all these like one cost cards, and it's like you can't just be durdling and doing nothing, right? So like I would like to see
most
like,
fun.
Yeah. I mean, for some people, not for me, you know what I mean? Like I miss the days where like
the Rabbit Man,
Air Lorcana, Oh yeah, here we go. Like the locations list.
But all this does is draw cards.
I mean,
does it draw any cards?
I guys spoke about this, man. Like Fairy Ship and like Forbidden Mountain. I forbid people from playing these cards. You know what I mean? Like, I think like, dude, if you're gonna play an aggro deck, just play Churna Dogs. You know what I mean? Like, do something else. Like,
no, I've got the aggro deck.
Or I know you're gonna say the GP. You know what I'm saying? But I think if you wanted to like draw cards, then like just play the draw card version of like Ruby Amethyst. I know some people like I saw like the Domingo list. He had one where it's like he had 3 Brawl, 3 Maui, and 3 Be Prepared. I'm like, dude, just play another color, man. Like you're playing 9 red cards. Like you know what I mean? I think there's other color combinations that can like do what you want it to do. If you wanted to just gain more situations. Yeah,
is there really another card that does what B Prep does?
I guess B Prep is the main reason to play like red plus locations, right? It's just like Be Prepared plus location. I guess Brawl is also unconditionally being able to remove Huron. But I think if you're trying to like go fast in that way, I would rather even like play like Amethyst Steel, for example. I think they have way more kind of these burn kind of cards. So
and you get Doc.
Oh, you get Doc too, yeah. Giant card.
I'll kind of reiterate what Zan had said a few weeks ago in his podcast about Ruby Amethyst, where you're kind of hoping your opponent has a heart attack. I haven't played a deck that could lose to Ruby Amethyst in 3 weeks.
Some people will though. You don't play Ruby Sapphire, that's why. I still think Ruby Sapphire loses to Ruby Amethyst, even
does
with
it? Oh, well.
I think it still does, man. Like the deck is still like pretty low. And people are playing like these. Yeah, I guess we're playing tomorrow. Yeah, I'll play Ruby Amethyst at Sailor. Hello, but yeah. So I think it's still pretty slow, right? I think Flynn is still like a scary card. Still takes like a couple turns to kind of remove it, and by that time, you're ramping up your locations and your one cost and stuff. So
are they still playing Flynn?
Most
World
people
of
aren't,
Bell.
but, like if it's Ruby Sapphire, I'm back. Well, I think I touched on this before too. Like you can't play Bell in Ruby Sapphire. Right, it's just too much resources, and like you can only play it in Sapphire still. But if I mean, it might take another popsicle in Ruby Sapphire to kind of be able to play Bell. But I think for now, like they don't really have that option unless I'm missing something. But I've tried it a lot, and I'm always like, dude, where are the cards on my hands? So I don't think Bell's gonna be there anytime soon. Oh, Dave, you want to?
Dave, you want to talk about this list?
Yeah, so this is well, I guess this is the updated version of a list that did well in a Belgian event over the weekend. It came in both. It won the event, and there was also a teammate that was in top 4, I believe. I believe the person's name is Waru. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, but full credit to that person and their team for coming up with this deck list. So this is a Emerald Amethyst. It's hard to call it a discard deck. It's probably more just a Diablo deck. It's got some disruptive elements in it. But this is what I have been playing for the last week or so, and I've absolutely loved it. It's been so much fun to play. I think it's very good. I've had quite a few pretty impressive win streaks. I'm not putting up Zan numbers with the list or anything like that, but I think I'm around 80% win rate with the deck in my testing into basically everything. It looks very strange. It's got a lot of what most people would consider underpowered cards, like the dual color, Diablo, Cricky, Improvise. All those cards are, probably not at an acceptable power level, for the modern Lorcana formats, but it's kind of just what you got to do. And so
It's
what
fun
this deck,
when they work out, though, right?
yeah. So what this deck does better than any deck ever before is shift the 3-cost Diablo as often and reliably as possible. Because you get 8 1-cost Diablos, and then up to 4. I see they're playing 3 now. I'm still on 4 of the dual color Diablo. It's not great to shift onto that one. So
here's the other list. Yeah, this is the list we were working off of.
This was the original list. So I have been playing a version similar to this, but instead of playing Iago, I'm playing 2 Lucifers instead. But those are the only changes I've made for this. So 58 out of 60 cards are the same. Just with Lucifers, because red-blue is much more prominent after CCS than it was previously.
Well, and the Iago is obviously like their team was playing this, and they're like, how do we break the mirror before this gets out? And they're like, okay, Iago. But then Iago dies to improvise, so I don't know.
Improvise.
Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah.
No, Iago is good. Like, the secret of Iago is that you have Ursula to back him up. So usually what happens is you play Ursula first. Oh, they have nothing. Time to run out this Iago. And most of the time, he actually can trade, like, a couple things. And in tandem with Elsa, is, like, super good. Like, you're, like, be able to take out anything. So I actually really like Iago in this list. I think it actually makes a lot of sense. Being able to, like, dominate the board, right?
I just find it hard to play green without Lucifer right now. There's so many good lines with him that just punish your opponent.
Very, very powerful. I've ground through Hyrims before, like active questing. Typically the matchups against red blue for these kind of discard style decks, it's like first you pray they don't have Hyrim, and then if you do that, it's slow enough that you can answer it. But I've won long games against active Hyrims, and I've also quite reliably stopped them from getting to 8 ink with this deck. And so I have been able to go under Big Sisu despite their attempts to ramp, because you can take how far I'll go with Ursula. Ed taught me to save the discards as late as possible, so I kind of stack them up, and then on my turn 6, hope to deploy multiple of them, headed into their 8th turn, grab the Sisu that way.
Yeah, as a long-time discard player, it always confused me when people are like, well, we can sing with our discard on turn 2. It's like, no. You don't want to be discarding them at 2, because then they discard their ink or a card they didn't want. You gotta wait for that moment. When you say cards in hand 3, you say, okay, gone.
Lucifer chill on that.
Yeah, Lucifer chill.
The most impactful. Like I always preach, like, even in like my set 5, like Emerald Steel, like kind of video or whatever. It's like the last card in their hand is always the most valuable. You know what I mean? So getting their last card usually locks up the game almost immediately. So
and you just lose when you don't get it.
I've playing tempo Crickies just to have him, and then sing Bruno next turn with him.
Yeah. This deck has very good matchups into both Amethyst Steel and Amber Steel. It's actually quite a joy to play Crab and Mim Fox again, against all of these 0-4 and 1-4 decks. Daisy flipping over a fox is like,
yeah, I think LD was on record saying like Ursula into Crab is really good right now. Yeah, so he's excited about this list too.
Yeah, so I've been really enjoying my time with this. If I had an event this weekend, this is probably what I would sleeve up. Blue Steel can be challenging, particularly if they have Bell. If they have Bell in to let the Storm Rage on, that's quite difficult for this deck to deal with. And they have a value, and the Blue Steel value engine can definitely outpace your discard.
All right, here's a question. Why is the Bell that much scarier than the Cinderella? Is it just because it's a 3/3 to boot?
They're both scary, for sure.
But you seemed very... Is it just that the Ursula 2 is that dang good against Steel Song that
I think the difference between playing against Amber Steel and Blue Steel, Sapphire Steel, is that your Ursulas are much better against Amber Steel, and you can often combine that with Sudden Chill and Hypnotize to really run them out of gas on like 3 or 4 ink.
Yeah, I've faced a lot of Blue Steel with this list and some others where I play Ursula, they have nothing, and then on their turn, this was back when we were testing the looter version, so then they would just play like, 1-drop looter, 1-drop looter, they'd filter, find the storm, and then just kill my Diablo. Or something. Yeah, I think Blue Steel has a lot more maybe not reach, but the ability to just kind of like find the kill spells when they need it versus other than Aerial, I mean Amber Seal's probably just I hope I have the song card for when I need it. So they're sitting on it maybe more.
Yeah, it really for them it requires them to get a Singer 5 into play and then use Aerial or just a top deck to Whole New World to get back into the game. But other than that, I've been quite impressed even on the draw. And the dual color Diablo is like kind of an impressive little threat because he whacks stuff that can't get challenged back by Rapunzel traps. So like in combination with Crab, he can take out say Daisy or the Troubadour or Vanessa or something like that, and then there's no risk of Rapunzel trap coming the other way. Mim Fox is the same thing. So Amber Steel has been quite easy for this deck, and I wouldn't have guessed that off the start. But the discard is particularly
that's not normally what you think of when you think of green cards and doing well into.
The purple cards like, we need still great at battling.
Right, the purple cards make it because normally when you're like, okay, you're playing green into Amber Steel, you need to find all copies of your Ursula too if you want to stand a chance.
They should have made Diablo, the 2-cost one, a red purple card. I think that would have made more sense, to be honest. Like, I think it would actually fit that slot, like, actually not bad. Because I think some of the issue was, like, what do you do with it, like, if you're not able to... Like, Flynn's problem is he has 2 attack rates, so basically can't challenge any of the 3/3s. But I think this Diablo, even though it can get Storm, it's, like, kind of unfortunate, but I think it being, like, evasive and having the challenger makes it, like, versatile enough where it's like no matter which matchup you're in is actually like pretty strong, like across the board.
Yeah, I've yesterday and today I've been playing into newer versions of this deck that have put library in as kind of a mirror tech, and it's been quite hard to handle. It doesn't seem that way. You're like, oh well, you have Mim Fox, you have Merlin Crab, you have Cricky. Why are you struggling into the library? There he is. But the problem is you both play this incredibly low resource game where you discard each other or trade off your Diablos early on, and both players are like kind of struggling to get to 4 ink. I don't know that I would go down the Ursula path of this version. This is the CCS version, right?
Yeah, this is Traverse Tavern's top 16 CCS.
Yeah, so I haven't played the Ursula package, but other than that in the library, it's very similar. No mothers knows best.
Man,
I played Ursula in like a GP burn list, and it was if she sang twice, like not one double sing, but like got 2 turns to do stuff, then we're like, all right, we're cooking with gas, we can get there. But
I would have sounded super smart earlier. I wanted to be like, the thing I miss is I want to put Ursula and Two Mothers Knows Best in it. And then boom, we see the list that did that. It's like, dang it. Like, I just love Ursula 3. She's like my favorite Emerald card, I think, hands down. She reminds me of Snapcaster Mage. So I'm like just
good.
all about it.
Personally, Friends was also pretty crazy. Like, remember in set 3? Oh man, when you see Friends with Ursula, she just instantly won the game. It was just like too many cards.
To comment on why Library is also so good in the mirror, rather than what Dave said, is, well, in general, anyways, I lost to Lofi. This was a few sets ago, but he was playing Emerald Amethyst, and he basically played a location. I had to then, like, it stopped the board stall. I had to challenge it. It was a castle. I lose if it stays in play. And then the next turn, he played Cricky and wiped my board, right? So, like, the location's also bait. It's kind of like a Rapunzel trap.
Yeah. Library's really strong still, yeah.
Dave, have you run into these lists where they're playing big Ursula? Because I ran into that recently, and that was difficult.
Seems a little traditional.
That's not real, is it? I'm sure that's not real.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably people just taking the list and going, I'm going to make this better by doing something different, and that's not always right, but they won, so maybe they're going to go away and shout at the rooftops that big Ursula is how you break this mirror. I don't know.
I like the look of this one, but what I think it's real, what wasn't obvious to me when I first saw these lists, and I thought they were just like a collection of these kind of mopey cards, was like how good Diablo into Genie is. And it's like a surprising amount of lore pressure for evasive cards that a lot of decks just can't interact with. And like particularly the Ruby decks, like they have to brawl just one of them and the other one gets to kind of live in perpetuity.
We got Coil Sisu now.
Yeah, but like Dave said, if you can keep them off 8 ink, which I've had, that's been how I've won against Red Blue Coil Sisu, is I've kept them off the ability to get there.
Yeah, I think Ruby Sapphire is definitely the worst matchup, but I have surprised myself with how well I've been able to battle back. And this is quite a simplistic deck. Like at least the way I'm playing it, I'm full mulliganing 7 cards for Shift Diablo every time.
So do you throw away the baby Diablos then, right? Like you only go for the big one because you have so many?
No, I keep the green one.
Okay.
So, dude, what? So I talked to David about this. I'm like, I want to play Maleficent's pet Diablo. You know what I mean? So we can do
2/1.
Yeah, the 2/1 that does nothing. But I want to do it just for the reason that you just stated. I literally want to ship my entire hand, including the babies, and know that it's gonna come back. Right? I'm shipping my actions. I'm shipping my babies, and I need to hit this like big Diablo. And I'm sure, like, I don't know where the mathematicians are. Like, somebody ping Jack's shadows. So like, I'm pretty sure it goes up like a decent amount to find this like, big Diablo shift, package if you're able to play more of these Diablos. Because ultimately, it doesn't even matter what the Diablo does. Not really if you're able to like shift on it, right? Like maybe you can shift on the bad one, and then like, you can keep your draw one for like attacking purposes or challenging purposes. But I think in a format where Diablo shift is a good thing to be doing, I think I would definitely run like the 12 baby 1 cost and the 2 cost Diablos.
This deck looks so fun. I'm playing this on stream tomorrow.
This has been my favorite deck to play for sure.
Although the Brunos, I hate that card.
I like Bruno.
I mean, you got a perfect Bruno singer in Elsa. It's so great. She comes in, helps clear something off, and then next turn she is clearing something else off.
I have Bruno PTSD.
It's because in GS, like, Bruno actually is not great. Like, there wasn't historically any good singers in there. But I think in the green-purple version, there's actually, like, he's not playing, like, Lucifer in, like, this version. But, like, Lucifer sings Bruno really well as well, right? So I think this version, like, Bruno's value goes up a lot. Especially since you also don't have, like, the steel, like, songs to be able to, like, remove things. So, like, Bruno, and that's why also even, like, playing like Mother Knows Best to some degree if you play like Lucifer, to be able to like remove threats, because like removing threats is definitely like more of a premium in the green purple version and like less of a premium in the green steel version.
Is Diego's version public? Because he was gonna.
I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, that's the internal tournament, right?
Yeah, I think this deck is also surprisingly resilient into like sharks, which I think was a major emerald amethyst problem in the last set.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was like, just a turn 4 shark was just kind of game over, and there's nothing you can do about it. But now Elsa and little Diablo and Cricky kind of can battle through it. Not to mention Bruno return, just getting it off the table.
All right, so we know that if Dave was playing somewhere this weekend, it'd be this. Ed, are you playing anywhere this weekend?
Yeah, I'm playing at a Game Castle Redwood Cities 1K tournament. Yes. But yeah, I think Josie, you can speak on like the tournaments that like you're trying to facilitate in Northern California.
You want to know what deck you're gonna play first? Tell everyone what deck you're gonna
Am I gonna
play.
play? Okay, everybody that's showing up, this is a deck I'm gonna play. To be honest, I think I don't even know what deck I'm gonna play yet. Like, I think that's why like people always see me play all kinds of like random stuff, and I think it goes to show like the meta I don't think is solved yet. I mean, to me personally, I still think red blue is like the best deck, but I think it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best deck in like some environments, right? Like potentially for like locals and stuff, like maybe everyone's bringing like these super aggro decks, and it actually doesn't make sense to bring red blue, right? You're just gonna get ran over once, and like your tournament run is over, and that's why I played like at the last major tournament, I played Steel Slaw because that I think has the best kind of spread into like aggro strategies. So I'm gonna probably take a look at like what like everyone I think is gonna be playing, and then try to bring a deck that's good against it. So if I had to pick like between like what are the contenders, it's probably gonna be either Ruby Sapphire, Amber Steel, maybe even this like green purple deck. I think this green purple deck is pretty good into like most of the field, but yeah, obviously bad into red blue. But if a lot of people are not playing red blue, then you can also play this deck. I think the other deck that's also possible, like if everyone's thinking on the same level, like red blue's the best deck, is back to Ruby Amethyst.
There he is.
Yeah, so that's the whole master game plan, right? First, you make Ruby Sapphire really good, and then you take it out the the Ruby Amethyst pocket. You know what I mean? So, yeah, one of those surely.
Josie, you want to talk about the event a little bit more? You're hosting it.
Not the Redwood City one, but basically, I think we've seen a lot of big events happen, kind of like in the Midwest, on the East Side, and we really don't have anything major on the West Side. So our team has basically decided that we're going to try to work with our local game stores and see if we can get them to run more competitive events like 1Ks, 2Ks, cash tourneys. We have, in Sacramento, Gold Stars running another pretty good tournament. I think April 5th. But it's just, we're really working with our game stores now. We're trying to get everyone in that more competitive mindset. We are hosting a tournament April 20th. So we're doing like a foil DLC Cindy and a foil Let It Go as like the top 2 prizing, to just kind of really get our community out there.
And eventually,
When's the Mickey?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, eventually Ed wants to run a gold Mickey tournament. Obviously, it'll be his Mickey because where am I going to get one, right?
Dude, I want to do the same thing. I want you to like succeed so much for this. Like, that'd be so cool to get more of these events all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer that there isn't DLCs or Worlds isn't happening yet that most of us know of timing wise, but it is. The upside is what I'm seeing is that, and I can speak for myself, my LGS has rearranged their store to fit now up to 30 people, where it was only like 22 before. So they're hosting their first 1K soon. We have I'm going to a 1K this Saturday at a nearby place. It's, it's good to see LGSs are willing to step up and be like, okay, you guys want stuff and there's not anything, we can work something out and try to get something going.
I think the hardest part is definitely if you have a lot of like LGSs like we do, is communicating and making sure that they're not overlapping with each other, because the Lorcana community, we're only so big. When there's too many events happening, then people are picking and choosing and you're not getting the turnout where the stores
Yeah.
think it's worth running. So, that's kind of where we're coming in, is we're talking to all the stores. We're like, okay, like this week we have something planned. Next weekend, you guys can do something. The following weekend, we'll do something. And that way it's just a little bit more spread out. But, we're just hoping to bring more events to California.
I think it also is another factor is like we also want like the stores to like make money, right? Like I know some people are, like, whatever percentage off the top is like too much or too little. But it's like at the end of the day, if the community is there and people are, down to play these tournaments, like we want to support the stores, right? So I think it's kind of a win-win for everyone, right? The store and the community. So I think kind of the reason why I say that is like SSG, they're doing some real egregious stuff, right? Like they're like giving tons of prizes with not a lot of entry fee. And I mean, I don't know what their motive is, but it could be just like, maybe they're doing it for the advertisement purposes. But yeah, they're going real crazy. And like, I want it to be like a sustainable thing for the store as well, right? But if people want to throw money at it, of course, like you're welcome to. But I think most stores are in it to like, make a profit at the end of the day, right? So I think personally for me, I don't mind kind of supporting our local game stores.
Yeah, and these kind of events also can just get people in the door. I mean, I wouldn't be going to my LGS if Set Champs, the first round of them, like brought me to their store and I was like, oh, this is cool, good atmosphere, I like the people here, and then I've been a constant player there since then. JDZ, what about you? You got any events this weekend?
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I'm looking at this cat. Okay, Luke, he knows how I feel about this damn cat. Okay, he knows it freaks me out.
With the red eyes, yeah.
And he's got the cat, and he's like,
PM, he's just like, I'm trying not to laugh, and then you call on him when he's like trying so hard not to.
Impeccable timing.
The cat is killing. Okay, but all right. Oh, sorry. So Vince, I've been playing a little bit of Blue Steel myself. I'm a long-time Blue Steel advocate before it was cool. Hipster Blue Steel all the way. And I actually attended an event a couple weekends ago, or last weekend. And I shouted out Dave and I shouted out Jax because I took their deck down there, Blue Steel items with Scrooges and the Zeuses and the Play to Get card theory, and it worked out great for me. I actually won that tournament. As a broadcaster, I'm not the guy who's in the dojo. You guys are in the dojo. I'm trying to be into the commentary booth, but I had to, every now and then I like to don my playing gear and get out there and get my game on. And I was playing some Blue Steel, and it went pretty great. But if I'm going to go forward, I would like to play something a little bit more low to the ground. Maybe I can find something. I want to be one of those aggro guys. I'm not feeling the dog stuff too much. I typically don't like decks that can't hit back, and that 0 on the stats, it just always pisses me off. When they're clearing my guys and I'm not able to set the Rapunzel trap, because let's face it, no one's really falling for the Rapunzel schemes anymore. So maybe we can find something that is a little aggressive. I've been really working 2 strategies in the peripheral. I don't play too much, and I'm not as good as you guys. I don't test as often as I should, but I would love to see Ruby Steel be a thing. And I also think that this mini card, this Amber Mini, I think that card has some latent potential that is not being explored because it's kind of trash. You don't have a lot of time to dedicate towards things that are bad if you're trying to be a successful player. But I still, in the peripheral, I like to theorize with that and I like to figure out a way to maybe get that card into the play. So I'll probably kind of focusing my energy going to more aggressive strategies, and I still keep Blue Steel in the back pocket in the event that I need to really lock something in. But I'm not playing any events. I will be doing some broadcasting work in another tournament that is happening this weekend as well. I think it's going to be the one in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Okay, there's a tournament happening there. I'll be doing some commentary there, and then next week there's another one in the DMV area. I do some commentary there because I'm focusing on the broadcasting.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do commentary for the events that they're making for California.
Let's go. Maybe. If you guys need a guy, Ed knows he got my number. If you need a guy,
I know the guy that knows the guy.
If you know a guy, go ahead.
Yeah,
don't touch that dial. Keep it locked, huh?
I think right now our plan was to just kind of stream the games and then do like post commentating. Partly because I personally think that if our team did live commentating, it could be problematic. So, there's no filtering, no cutting. Dave knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I think our first step is to just try to do some like streaming and then recording and do commentating like later. But we're also trying to do some of, thanks to Pixelborn Connect. We're trying to record some games with open hands so we can try to do commentating on that. Because I think the biggest thing is that for our Lorcana community, like the top players represent like a very small percentage of Lorcana. And I think a lot of people love, the videos you guys make because it's very helpful. They listen to it, they learn from it. And having like an open hand commentating session, like watching that, I think is very, very insightful for them.
And I've told Ed multiple times. I'm like, Ed, big dog, when's the channel dropping? When's the content coming? When is it happening? I'm ready to like, subscribe. And he's like, all right, stay tuned. It's coming soon. And this has been for multiple weeks now. So I need feet to the fire. I need execution on this because that is something that is tremendously lacking in the community. As someone who is entering the field as a content creator, this type of stuff is missing. It's a huge gap, and there's not a lot of people who can do it that are qualified to do it. Ed is one. He has the charisma. He can execute this, and it should be something that is happening, and it's just not. Okay, so
we're working on it. It's baby steps, baby steps.
I got two people to harass now. Ed's still gonna get the harassment every day, and I'll just rope you in there, put you onto the CCs as well on the emails. Too easy. Done and done.
Done and done.
Luke, you playing in anything this weekend?
I'm lazy. There is. Not only is there not much, I was actually going to try to go to the CC or the WCC, but a few things happened. Like a month and a half ago, I was asked to do some casting for the Lore League Italia, the Bologna event, and that's this weekend. So I will be casting. I haven't checked the times. I should really check the times. Sometime in the AM. Because it's Italian time, right? So whatever time 9 a.m. in Italy is until the event's done on the first day. And I'm assuming it's 2 days. I'm pretty sure. So I'll be doing some late night Lorcana casting. And there's also a board game convention in my town. And I'm going to go jam some board games with a buddy of mine. So I'm actually opted to not play Lorcana, even though all of the events I could go to are on that weekend.
Hate to see it. You vibing? You're not vibing?
Sometimes you gotta take a break to
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got roped into One Piece the other week because we were taking a break from Lorcana, and like Ed will make me go to these like game stores, and he's like, okay, we're gonna play Union Arena, or we're playing One Piece, and he gives me like a 15-minute breakdown of like, this is how you play the game. All right, like it's time to play now. And I'm just like, what am I doing here?
Just do the thing.
Yeah, just do the thing, right?
It's going to make you a great player, though. Like that's the type of thing a lot of people don't experience. Like a lot of these top players played a lot of different card games or gaming in general, and like once you play one and you jump to another, you're like, oh, I can like take this here, and I kind of know this from this game, and like you might learn something from another game if you were missing that type of element or a weakness. Like some games focus on other elements. Kind of a word salad, but hopefully you understood what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. He usually uses Lorcana lingo to teach me. Like, he's like, this is like your Lady Tremaine. This is like your snake.
Smart.
And I'm just like, okay.
This is your ink, you know what I mean? You're done.
Yeah. But I do think it is good to take a break now and then, especially when you guys play so much and you practice so much, just to like take a step back, do something else, and then come back kind of with a fresh mind. I think you get a lot more perspective. So
no, the champion's mindset, you're always grinding no matter what.
That's it. I mean? Tell them again. Say it again, man. It's all about the grind, okay?
Your break? No,
we don't take those breaks. The only break I know is break your neck. How about that?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's time to quest. Pick up them cards.
Yes.
No, we don't drink water. What are you talking about? We don't rest either.
It's so hard to get the amount of paper games in that are required. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I feel like I'm half as good of a player as I was in set one just because of like the amount of games I played online.
Yeah. Digital client is like, I think that's like the other contentious topic, right? It's like, when are you get a digital client? Because like I think it's very similar to like poker. Like you know how like in poker like you maybe get like 20 to 30 hands. like per hour, but like online you play like thousands in an hour if you're like
Play 20 to 30
multi-player
hands
like
at
that.
once.
That's what I'm saying. So it's exactly the same. Like if you play online, like you can even play multiple games online if you really wanted to. You know what I mean? And just like see as many spots as possible. So I would like to see a digital client. I mean, I don't know if we're ever gonna get one. And, you know, some developers
They were
are even,
hiring
like,
someone,
you know,
right?
There's
Yeah,
gotta be.
I think they
They
hired.
could.
I think they had listings out for it, but I mean, they're holding a lot to the chest right now. I mean, Worlds, DLC cycle,
No.
next stuff.
There
So
could be like a monkey palm situation though. It could be like a Wishmaster. Be careful what you wish for. We want a digital client. You end up with something that's just cheeks, dude, just so bad. And you got like
They would
buy all these cards again, and it's gonna be. It could
they'd
be
have to drop the
terrible.
ball
you
so
already
hard.
know we're gonna buy it, bro.
I'm gonna buy it. I'm
that's the
1,000%
scary thing.
gonna buy it. But I'm just saying,
Well,
what
that's
It's a
sucks.
scary thing.
We're buying in.
I'm
saying,
buying
like,
it.
JDZ has a great point. What if they just like go toxic AF and just like you have to spend $7 on a 3-card booster,
I'm
and you're
buying
not
it.
even guaranteed a rare?
I'm buying it, bro.
I'm
I
swiping
know
this
that's the
credit card. I don't
scary
know.
thing. It's so
They-
terrifying.
They got us
I would do
bad.
the free to play and hate my life.
Yeah, you're getting
I-
cooked by some whale that you know you could beat if it was a normal
Right,
game.
right.
You're gonna feel so bad.
I don't need any excuse to play. I just like
Yeah.
that's what I do in my free time. Is like I get the kids to sleep, and then it's like I'm going down and I'm hopping into voice chat, and I'd
Oh,
love
yeah.
to play for for something meaningful.
Yeah, because they got the Master Duel thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, and they'll have like a ranked ladder that you have to climb to, and you can get like nationally ranked, and you can get world's qualifications and national invites and stuff from basing on how you place on the digital ladder. And if they had that for Lorcana, people would be grinding all night long.
I mean,
there would be people
we're
on there
seeing-
24 hours a day, like playing.
I think we're seeing the breadcrumbs for that, right? Because the new, I don't remember what it's called, the Ravensburger Play Hub,
Mhm.
the thing that's coming out with the cardio system,
.io.
they're going to have some tracking with that. I know that the Chinese World announcement looked like it had maybe like different ways to go through qualifications to get invites to stuff. So you take all that and maybe put a digital client with it. We can start seeing different ways to rank up, get prestige,
Mhm.
get invites to stuff, see other ways to play the game. It'll be exciting.
I mean, Magic Arena already has something built in, right? Like their opens or whatever, where it's like you get X
Yeah.
amount of wins, so you get like X amount of dollars, or like something crazy, right? If you can like go undefeated, like that's
Could you
personally
imagine?
what I would like to see, like some kind of higher stakes. Like their buy-in's like pretty crazy, right? It's like equivalent to like $50 or something, $100 I've seen. So it's like,
Win a golden Mickey online. Ooh.
oh yeah, like if you go like
Can you imagine?
you could win a
Can you
golden-
imagine?
Yeah. Like that would be crazy. That'd be sick, right? So
Yeah.
personally, if they ever have online play, that's like I want some kind of built-in tournament system that hosts like these like regular tournaments.
If you
I
win a
think-
golden
Please,
Mickey
please,
online, is it
please.
just an NFT?
The-
Oh, don't give them ideas,
Look at
man.
picture.
We ain't vibing penguins here.
Oh man, the vibing is taking over. That's gonna be the next game. I'm telling you, vibes, dude. Watch out for it.
No
Watch out for
NFT
it.
games.
No NFT games. Okay. All right.
All
I
right,
don't
last,
know.
last
You
thing I
all look confused. Have you not seen
want
the
to touch
hype
on
on-
before we depart. I think, and it's not really like out of nowhere, but I think the Amber Emerald discard control deck might have a good spot again. I know that Bennett went and played it with 0 cards past set 4 and won a big event over in Europe with it. I've been playing it lately, as most of you know. That's kind of how I made my bread and butter before back in set 4 was with it. You have forgotten me is a strong card when you've been slowly discarding them, and all of a sudden you go, you have forgotten me into a sudden chill. You make them discard 4 cards on a turn 4. It's very nice.
I concur.
I mean, it depends if aggro decks end up making a comeback. Like I think right now aggro decks might be pushed down because of like all the Sapphire Steel, and if that's the case, then yeah, I could definitely see like Amber Emerald making a comeback. But if aggro decks are still kind of like prevalent, then I think it's going to be kind of scary to bring that deck into like a tournament.
I think it's popular with quite a few members of our group. I know Rob is a big Amber Emerald fan right now.
Rob,
And
Rob
also-
had a nice list was that at Ink Inc. that he brought that? Yeah,
Yeah, he top 16 with it.
that one looked pretty cool. I know Diego's been testing it out as expected. Pandemonium
forgot.
Heart. You know, him and I worked a lot in tandem in set 4 on it. So
yeah, we like our
Agreed.
degenerate discard decks.
yeah,
That's
So
kind of
it's
one I hope stays in the.
In the down, keep that suppressed.
I
Don't let
know
that
if
out. Yeah,
anybody wants that deck.
I don't know. I
It's
don't think anybody wants that.
not
problem,
exactly
Well,
fun to play against.
would you rather play against that or the like a green blue bend to your will bounce deck?
I've been doing that too. That's
Well,
that's
yeah, I
my
know you
side
haven't.
deck.
But which would you rather not face? Which is not.
Well, I haven't played against Emerald Sapphire yet, but playing with it against it's the apex predator of the blue decks.
Yeah.
So it's a Ink Geyser deck. You get a Fishbone Quill into play Ink Geyser, then you ink from your hand, ink with Fishbone Quill, and next turn your opponent, they go to they get to ink to 4, and then you bend to my will and leave them with whatever they have in play with only 4 ink.
Bro, somebody got me with the hero. Have you seen the Hero Hamada version of that deck?
Yes, I have.
Yo, they just like Hero Hamada, and then they Ink Geyser, and you just literally have 0 outs, right? And then they play Baymax. Oh, they play Baymax too. Like, might as well, right?
Yeah, they're sitting there. What does he give? Like ward and evasive.
Ward and evasive.
Yeah, so he's
like,
sitting there on the board, a huge. And he quests for what? 2 or 3?
Quest 3.
Quest
3, man. It's crazy. Like, a lot of the decks actually don't even have any outs to that card, right? Like, what outs do you have in like red blue? Like, I thought I was so smart. I played a shark, and you just like, you're welcome, and the Ink Geyser me. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm fried. You know what I mean?
My Emerald Sapphire side project came to an end when I shipped the Scrooges and the Tamatoas to Boomy.
I remember that. Yeah.
But when I get them back, that's
We're
where
back.
I'm headed.
Hidden Inkcaster.
No, what's the
Galactic Communicator.
Yeah, the Galactic Communicator. I took that on my bulk bin the other day when I was grabbing stuff. I was like, I might have to use this now.
I had quite a few foils. It's a hard lock with the Tamatoas.
Wait, what does that card do?
That's what I'm saying.
It's a 2-cost uninkable item, and you can pay 1 to return a character with 2 attack or less to their hand. But obviously with Sapphire Coil, you can return much bigger stuff.
And Tamatoa.
And then with the 2 Tamatoas, you just create this loop where your opponent, can't get out of it because you Ink Geyser them and bend to my will them a bunch.
Yeah, toxic. That's what I'm saying.
There it is.
18 cents. Get your commons now before it hits 60 cents.
This card can totally make a. I think it could be playable if we make this Tamatoa deck.
Yeah. So what this, if for a 5-minute tangent, right? What this color combination gets that the other, so Sapphire Steel is the only other color combination that gets 8 popsicles. And this deck with Hidden Inkcaster also gets a cantrip item. And despite most of the cards I named being uninkable, you can squeeze those Hidden Inkcasters in and still only go to 14 uninkables, which allows you to play Sail, Azurite Sea, and all the other cards. And it really does smooth out, the Hiram Scrooge Bell engine in a way that like Sapphire Ruby can't replicate. And so you get Bell and Scrooge in the deck, and it's not. Yeah. It doesn't cost 1. That's true.
Yeah. It's awkward to play, but like if you can play it like mid to late game, it's really good.
Yeah. Typically, you for the most part.
So how many of this are you playing?
How many?
Yeah.
I was playing 20 items.
I meant of this card.
Oh, just 2.
You're like 2. 2 and like 2 Inkcaster seems like reasonable.
Yeah. You get away with, you can do a lot of egregious stuff when you have Tipo and Fishbone Quill in your deck. And the funny thing is with Ink Geyser, there's no bad feelings about inking your cards because you'll just get them back later.
Yeah, it's a fun deck.
Yeah, this is a fun and unexplored deck. It's got some Pete problems, right? Because you're dependent on having what's the card? Under the Sea. Undersea being a board wipe.
But people are cutting Pete, right? Remember?
But yeah, if people actually, if we encourage people to cut Pete and they actually listen, this is quite scary. And with like Belle and Scrooge being free characters that help sing Under the Sea, like people, you might not realize this, right? But if you just go Belle, Tipo, Scrooge, That's a turn 4 under the sea.
Yeah, Underseas Online, yeah.
You just get to let her rip.
I remember we had this conversation with some people. It's like, you don't even want to do turn 4, right? Like usually it's
I've done it. I do it.
Yeah. Or it can be good, I guess.
Yeah, I guess certain
With
boards
coil.
it can be good, but
If you're hitting 3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with coil, it's like a free Scrooge. I think that's why coil is so good. Like, it doesn't require you to like, activate it or exert it. I think that's why this galactic thing is also good, right? You don't need to tap it, right? You can just pop it. Yeah, and also Inkcaster doesn't require anything. You can tap it for free.
awesome. Well, thanks for everyone stopping by. We're gonna
It's been fun.
wrap it here now, and everyone enjoy your evening. And if you're playing any events, good luck. Thanks, guys.
See ya.